of one of our episodes of taking opportunity of Ramadan as a month of change, to introduce that much needed change into our lives. And today we are going to talk about a topic of extreme importance, which is changing our perspective on our lives, our objectives, our goals, and our time. The way we specifically value our time. Before that, let me just remind you, and let me just remind you of what we have talked about last week and the purpose of these 4 series of talk. These 4 series of talk during this month of Ramadan, each Wednesday, come as a wake-up call to shake you up, to make you that better person that you always wanted to be, but you never took the right opportunity to implement that change in your life. These 4 series of talk came to wake you up, came to make you that better person, came to uplift your life and improve you and improve all of other aspects of your life. And that is not specifically related just to the religion. It's not just about reading the Quran, about the prayers and about the different acts of worship. These are all things that are of utmost importance, right? However, the purpose of this talk is to improve you on all aspects of your life, not just on your worship, although our primary focus is the worship. We have been created for this purpose. We have been created to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created the jinn kind and the mankind except to worship me. However, when I mentioned that our purpose is actually to talk about all aspects of our lives, this is because of one hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he mentioned that المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. That the strong believer is dearer and more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the weak believer. Yes, as the Prophet ﷺ ended his hadith, yes, in both there is goodness. However, the Muslim who is dearer, who is stronger in all aspects of life, in being successful in all aspects of life, is what the Prophet ﷺ wants to see in this community. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in this hadith, المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف وفي كل خير. In both of them, there is goodness, and we cannot compare a believer to a non-believer. However, the Prophet ﷺ, and he has put an emphasis upon the mu'min al-qawi, the strong believer. So this series of talk comes to make you take the opportunity of the month of Ramadan to introduce that much changes, that much needed change into your life. Ramadan has always been a period in which a lot of changes take place. Ramadan has always been the month in which societal changes take place, in which individual changes take place. The month of Ramadan comes and gives you that boost of iman. You see people around you making most of their nights in obedience and worship. You see people taking advantage of their days to make the adhkar, to read the Quran, and to engage in all of these acts of worship. Ramadan comes and you have to change your meal times. You cannot eat whenever you want during the day, but you have to eat at set specific times that Allah Azza wa Jal has defined for us. Not only that, not only these small changes that are taking place in the society or that are taking place on your level, but there are much more changes that are taking place in the world, in the universe as a whole. When you look, you see that, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, as I mentioned in last week's talk, the Prophet ﷺ, when he used to bring the glad tidings to his companion about the coming of the month of Ramadan, he used to mention actually huge changes that are taking place in the universe. Huge things that are changing so that these things give you that momentum, that motivation that you need to make the change from within yourself. Prophet ﷺ, he used to bring the glad tidings to his companion saying, Ataakum Ramadan. Here comes to you the month of Ramadan. And by the way, the Prophet ﷺ, he doesn't give the glad tidings about any other months. Yet, there are other months in which there are huge periods of worship. Like, for example, the month of the Hijjah. However, when the month of Ramadan comes, the Prophet ﷺ, he tries to wake up his companions. He tries to make them benefit from the month of Ramadan, and that's why he starts from the very first time when the month of Ramadan comes. The moment it enters, the Prophet ﷺ is ready and making his companions ready to take advantage of it. The Prophet ﷺ, he used to say, "Ataakum Ramadan." Here comes to you the month of Ramadan. Shahrun Mubarak. It's a blessed month. However, as Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, this is ayyaman ma'dudat. It's only a number of days. And the Prophet ﷺ, he reminded his companions about the same thing. Ayyaman ma'dudat, that is only a number of days. Shahrun Mubarak. He mentioned it that it's a month, but it's a month that goes by very quickly. And then the Prophet ﷺ started listing some of the changes that are taking place in the entire universe for you and me, my dear brother. And all of these things are taking place for us human beings to change. For us human beings to come closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, to draw nearer to Him. For us to fear Allah Azza wa Jal more than any other time in the year. And for us to give us that boast of Iman, that boast of faith, that boast of fear of Allah Azza wa Jal that we should stay with us throughout the year. So, talking about the changes that take place in the universe, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, شهر مبارك فرض الله عز وجل عليكم صيامه. And then he started listing these changes and he said, صلى الله عليه وسلم, تفتح فيه أبواب الجنان. The doors and the gates of the heavens are open. The doors of the hellfire are closed. وتغلق فيه أبواب النيران. وتغل فيه مرضة الشياطين. And the devils are chained up. لله فيه ليلة خير من ألف شهر. In it there is a night that is better than 1,000 months. من حرم خيرها فقد حرم. The Prophet ﷺ, he says that whoever is deprived from its goodness is the truly deprived one. And these changes that are taking place in the universe and the changes that are taking place in things that are closer to you, like you see others taking advantage of the month of Ramadan, you see people increasing their acts of worship, you see people drawing near to Allah Azza wa Jal. All of this is an opportunity for you, my dear brother, to change. Not only that, Ramadan has always been a month of societal change. And if you see the huge achievements that were made possible in this community, those huge achievements most of them have taken place in the month of Ramadan. If you look from the very early achievement of this community, which is the Battle of Badr, right? The Battle of Badr has taken place during the month of Ramadan. And from there, we can guess that the month of Ramadan has always been a very special month. And as I mentioned, Quran has been revealed in the month of Ramadan. And it has opened the door wide to this community, to the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ, to the guidance of Allah Azza wa Jal, to the guidance and to the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Quran has altered the course of the community from a nation of shepherds into a nation that guides the other communities. The Prophet ﷺ, when he received the revelation, he has received the revelation to take people out of darkness, of the ignorance and the injustice and falsehood, into the light of Islam, into the light of the Quran, into the light of Sunnah, into the light of justice, of coming close to Allah Azza wa Jal, the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. And all of these changes have taken place and taking place in the month of Ramadan, as it is in the case of the Quran. So it is really incumbent upon us Muslims to seize this opportunity and to make a real change and real difference in the month of Ramadan, to hold ourselves accountable, to reconsider our lives, to reconsider our objectives. Last week we talked about introducing what type of change, which is changing our behaviors, changing our moral characters, the way we behave with Muslims as with non-Muslims. And today we are going to turn the focus towards taking advantage of our minutes of our lives, taking advantage of the time that is allowed to us, that is given to us, which is one of the huge blessings that Allah Azza wa Jal has given us after the Islam. Not only that, but setting ourselves high objectives in life so that we make something out of our lives, so that we make our lives successful. It is really important upon us, as I mentioned, to reconsider our objectives and to take our life seriously. I know that so many of our listeners today, they always want to improve. They always want to become that better person. they maybe have objectives that have lived with them since their childhood. They might wanted to have done some studies and they have never achieved so. Sometimes rightly because of Allah Azza wa Jalla's destiny, because of al-qadr. But sometimes purely because they are postponing these things until later. Sometimes purely because of our actions and acts, postponing and not following our dreams, not following our objectives, not making high aspirations into our lives. So Ramadan is your opportunity. If you have been amongst those who have always wanted to do something and you have never actually achieved it, you wanted to increase how much Quran you read, this is your opportunity, my dear brother, my dear sister. Do you want to do those studies or to start some studies that you have always wanted to do and you have never allocated time, you have never found the motivation for it, then this is your this is your time for change. This is the right time to introduce this change into your life. You want to be a better person in whatever field. And as I mentioned, this talk is not just about acts of worship, although our primary focus as servants of Allah Azza wa Jal is to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. However, there are some changes that are as much important and as much needed to the Muslim community than the changes into our acts of worship. So if you want, and if you have been always postponing and delaying and not having high aspirations, then please let me take you throughout the journey of just changing your perspective now in the remaining minutes of this talk. So the change can only take place, and you can only actually benefit from the month of Ramadan to implement the change into your life if you do two things. You might dream of doing the change, you might dream of high aspirations, but they remain dreams. They remain unfulfilled dreams. They remain unfulfilled goals and objectives until you start putting that in place, until you start putting two things in place that are going to make you successful in pursuing your dreams, in achieving that better person that you always wanted to be, in being close to Allah Azza wa Jal, in being close to His religion, in being a successful person in this worldly life. The two are not contradictory as some might understand. The Muslim, and I'm emphasizing upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he mentioned المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف, that the believer, the strong believer, is dearer and closer to Allah Azza wa Jal and better beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal than the believer who is weaker. In both there is goodness. However, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, the believer who is strong in any field. We want Muslims to be CEOs. We want Muslims to be very successful in this worldly life. But we want Muslims as well to be very successful in their relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal. يا قوم إنما هذه الحياة الدنيا متاع. This worldly life is but amusement. But there are things that are going to make the worldly life and to make us as Muslims and the entire community successful, and to make the Prophet ﷺ be proud of us in the day of the hereafter. Do you want to be one of those people who, when they come to see the Prophet ﷺ in the day of the hereafter, he will tell you that actually you had lots of dreams. Why did you not do that? Do you want to be amongst those who, when they come to the Hawd, when the Prophet ﷺ will be serving people شربة هنيئة لا يظمؤون بعدها أبدا, when the Prophet ﷺ will be serving people seeps of water that they will never feel thirsty afterwards. What do you want? How do you want the Prophet ﷺ to be proud of you in that moment? What is the thing that you are going to be showing off at that day that will make you stand out from the crowd and say, yes, I have tried this hard as I can, and I wanted to make the change. I took Ramadan as an opportunity, and I took the moment from when I hear the talk about making an impactful change into my life, and then I started from there. I didn't postpone to later. Any change, and Ramadan, if you want to take if you want to take it as an opportunity to implement a change into yourself and into your life, then you have to do two things. First of all, you need to be sincere in your intention for the change. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He said in many verses, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal do not change what is in a group of people until they change what is in themselves. And what is in themselves is but their intentions, is but their motivations, is but their determination to change. As I mentioned, if you change nothing, nothing will change as a result. So unless you start having that inherent determination, that inherent motivation within yourself that yes, I would like to become a better person, nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody is going to make you successful except if you, as the owner of your own life, is going to implement that change and is going to be sincere into wanting that change. The second one is, it's not enough to have the intention. It's not enough to be sincere. It's not enough to be determined to have and to implement the change into your life to actually be able to achieve that. For so many people, they have dreams. They always wanted to be a different person. They always wanted to have something positive in their lives. They always wanted to stand out in an area, in a field, whatever that field may be. Yet, they have never been actually able to achieve any of that. And this is for a reason, which is they kept the change, or they kept the aspirations as dreams, not putting them into the reality, not putting them into practice. They never took actually the practical steps that are much needed to implement any change into your life. Let me ask you, and please respond to me sincerely. You don't need to say it out loud. I'm sure that you know your situation, your context. You know what you are postponing better than anybody else. Let me ask you, my dear brother, and let me ask you, my dear sister, and please answer that genuinely and accurately. For how long have you been postponing your desires? For how long have you been postponing your objectives? For how long have you been postponing and procrastinating improving your life? Life is too short. By the time you realize you're already 30, 40, 50, 60 years of age. There is nothing actually wrong with being old and wanting the change. Because some people might say, oh, actually I've achieved a number of years now of my life, and all of a sudden I'm waking up. There is nothing wrong actually with waking up. There is nothing wrong with waking up at any time at any point in your life. Provided that you are making that change. Provided that you are taking advantage of the remaining minutes of your life. Provided that you are taking advantage of your remaining days to make an impact into this worldly life and to make an impact into yourself, into your family, and into the Muslim community as a whole. Take some time during the month of Ramadan to reflect upon your objectives. Take some time during the month of Ramadan to reflect upon your goals, upon what do you want. Nobody is going to do that for you. And please, please, please don't postpone it again. Don't do like you have always done, which is, let me just work on it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. Let me just ask you the question, for how long are you going to be a spectator of your own life? Wanting to implement something, wanting to change its direction of travel, yet you're just a spectator. You're unable to do anything into your own life. And if you can't do anything into your own life, you can forget about doing anything into others' lives, into the Muslim community. Will you be proud when you're going to receive your record? When you're going to be receiving your book, in which all of your deeds are being recorded, in which every single action that you have done in your life is recorded, in which you are going to be said to, اقرأ كتابك. Read your book. كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. اقرأ كتابك. كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا. Read your book. You are going to be your own judge. So this month is a good period to reflect about these objectives, and don't postpone that again. Don't postpone that until a day that will never come, like you have done for so many years. If you want the change, implement the change now. If you are postponing even this change of thinking about your life seriously and thinking about your goals into later, then that later will never come. If you are thinking of changing the direction of travel of your life, if you are thinking of making some improvements into your lives, then this is the right time for it. Take advantage of this month of Ramadan. Seize the opportunity to make that much needed change into your life. Remember that many people were amongst us last year. So many people actually maybe have had same thoughts last year. Let me just live this Ramadan as I have lived it before, as I have lived for so many years. And next year, definitely I will introduce that needed change. Next year, I'm going to be the better person I wanted to be, yet that next year never actually came for them. Why? Because they have left us for their final resting peace. My dear brothers and my dear sisters, if you want to be proud of yourself, religiously and on aspects of this worldly life, then you have to take seriously your life, your goals, your objectives. Hassan al-Basri, he used to say something that is actually very powerful. يا ابن آدم إنما أنت أيام كلما مضى منك يوم ذهب بعضك. O son of Adam, you're only a number of days. Each day that goes by is actually part of you that leaves. Think about it for a minute. Each day that you are living on this worldly life and you are postponing your objectives, you are postponing introducing the change into your life, then it's a day less to make an impactful life, to make a successful life, to make a life that will make the Prophet ﷺ being proud of you in the day of the hereafter. Unfortunately, with the hectic pace of life, we hardly find any time to sit down and to think about things that are really important for us. We are always head down on things. We are always head down on achieving, on doing things, and on performing tasks. And we actually we don't really take the opportunity to think about ourselves, to do the ibadah of the reflection, which is one of the very first ibadah that the Prophet ﷺ he used to say. He used to perform. The Prophet ﷺ حُبِّبَ إِلَيْهِ الْخَلَاء. As you might have heard in so many occasions, the Khatib mentioning that the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ, that was made beloved to the Prophet ﷺ was to reflect, to go into the mountain and to reflect upon Allah's creation, to reflect upon everything that's surrounding him, to reflect upon his purpose of life, to reflect upon his Lord, his Creator. And that's when he has received the revelation, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. With the hectic pace of life, actually we hardly find any time to really sit down and do this act of reflection. And by not doing so, our lives go by. Our lives, as Hassan al-Basri, go by. Each day that goes is a part of you that leaves. And with it, our dreams fade. With it, our aspirations fade. And with it, we're not able to achieve what we want to achieve and to deserve the highest place in the Jannah. Umar, he used to have a powerful saying, حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Actually, this is the time in which you need to judge yourselves before you are being judged. Weigh your deeds before they are being weighed for you. It will be easier for you on the day of judgment to judge if you have prepared yourself now. If you have prepared answers to those questions, beautify yourselves for the grand exposition, which is when everybody meets Allah Azza wa Jalla and everybody wants to be proud of something that they have achieved, that they have accomplished. I have actually, some might come and they say that actually I've read the Quran so many times and they are proud of it, and يقال لهم اقرأ وارقى كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا فإن منزلتك عند آخر آية تقرأها. For some, they will be so proud of their recitation of the Quran. They have always been close with the Quran. They have always had their hearts attached to the Quran, reading it and pondering upon it. And they will be they will be told in the day of the hereafter, اقرأ وارقى كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا. Read and raise in status in the same way as you used to read in the worldly life. فإن منزلتك عند آخر آية تقرأها. Your highest status is going to be according to the last verse that you are going to recite. So Umar, he used to say, beautify yourself for that day. My dear brother, beautify yourself for that day. Do that which will make you stand out in that day. If it is reciting the Quran, then be it. If it is something else, being like a successful person who is leading a masjid successfully or doing whatever other thing, leading a business successfully and making the Prophet ﷺ being proud of you. Whatever that you are more inclined towards and that you want to do and to be successful in within your own life. Take some time. Sit down with yourself. Take some time to define your objectives and goals and aspirations. What do you want to do so? And don't even postpone this task until later, because that later will never come. If it is important for you, you are going to find the time for it. If it is something of utmost importance to you, wallahi, you will sit down with yourself and you will find the time to think about your objectives, to think about your life seriously. But you are keeping postponing, my dear brother and my dear sister, because you have never actually felt that it was important, or because you don't want actually to realize that actually my life is not exactly as I want it to be. And it's being taken from me. The days are going by and part of me is expiring and I'm not able to actually change anything in that. Don't be spectator of your own life. Don't be spectator of your own destiny. Yes, there is a qadr. Please don't misquote me or don't misunderstand me. That what Allah Azza wa Jalla has defined for us is whatever is going to be to take place. رُفِعَتِ الْأَقْلَامُ وَجَفَّتِ الصُّحُفُ. As the Prophet ﷺ has said, the pens have already been lifted up, and the suhuf and the books and the records have already dried up. However, there is a part that is actually defined by you. It's you who gets to decide whether you want to read the Quran more often or not. It's you who wants to decide whether you want to memorize the Quran or not. It's you who gets to define whether you want to do that master degree or not, that bachelor degree or not. It's you actually who gets to decide what you want to do with your own lives. If you are serious enough, my dear brother and my dear sister, about your aspirations and you want to achieve higher statuses and higher places in the paradise, then take the worldly life as a step of effort and endeavor. إن الله اشترى من المؤمنين أنفسهم وأموالهم بأن لهم الجنة. If you want the highest status in the paradise, you want the highest places in the paradise, نسأل الله عز وجل أن يرزقنا وإياكم الفردوس الأعلى بغير حساب. نسأل الله عز وجل أن يجعلنا وإياكم من أهل الجنة. نسأل الله عز وجل أن يجمعنا بالنبي. If you want that, then this is your time. Then do that which will make you successful in the day of the hereafter. An important aspect to consider when setting our objectives and when setting higher aspirations for our lives is actually how we spend our time. Because there is no point setting up objectives and high motivation and high goals and wanting to do all of that. Yet you spend actually 3 hours with friends talking about nothing and everything. Yet you spend 5 hours, my dear sister or my dear brother, cooking something that will maybe take 10 minutes to be eaten. There is nothing wrong in fulfilling your duties of this worldly life. There's nothing wrong in spending time in the kitchen, preparing yourself, for your husband, preparing for your wife, that nice meal that's going to make you, and that is part of your life. That is part of the enjoyment of this worldly life. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He said, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي أَخْرَجَ لِعِبَادِهِ وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ. Say, who has forbidden the goodness that Allah Azza wa Jalla has made available to His servants, وَالطَّيِّبَاتِ مِنَ الرِّزْقِ, and all of the good things that Allah Azza wa Jalla has made lawful to His servants? No one. So we're not saying here that you shouldn't be spending some time cooking for yourself or preparing your clothes, washing your clothes, preparing your environment, preparing yourself before going out into the masjid. All of these are part of your daily life, and these are tasks that you cannot get rid of. However, what I am talking about is all of those minutes that go in vain. Is all of those minutes of your day that you know that you are wasting, and you afterwards regret engaging in those activities that made you waste such amount of time. There's nothing wrong in talking with friends and sitting over with friends in your house, inviting some, or in a restaurant or in a cafe, whatever it is, but for a few minutes. 15 minutes should be enough. Sitting for 3 hours, sitting for 5 hours, my dear brother and my dear sister, you're then wasting your time. You're then wasting your life. You're not really taking advantage of the opportunity that's being given to you in this worldly life. You're not taking advantage of every single minute that's being granted to you in this worldly life. And I keep reminding you about the saying of Hassan al-Basri, which is, Ya ibn Adam, O son of Adam, you are only a number of days. Each minute that goes, Al-Hassan al-Basri, he used to say that each day that goes is actually part of you that leaves. And I'm saying that actually not only that, but each minute, each single breath that you are taking, it's a part of you that has left and is not going to be back until the day of the hereafter. Now going back to the importance of time, if you ask any of us what is the blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal has given us after Islam, what's the best blessing of all? A lot of people are going to respond, if you have not already responded inwardly, a lot of people are going to respond that it is money, right? And this is not surprising in an era in which people have lost the sense of satisfaction except those that Allah Azza wa Jal want to guide. Some might answer that cars, and especially our youngsters, something of this worldly life, an object that might have no value for Allah Azza wa Jal. You need to know, my dear brother and my dear sister, that the true answer to this question is actually the time. And this is not me saying it actually. This is the Prophet ﷺ saying it. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. There are two blessings in which many servants incur loss: health and free time. We don't see the free time, we don't see the importance of the free time until it's being taken from us. My dear brothers, I will just finish the importance of the time by drawing your attention to something which is very important, which is, if you look into the Quran, you open the Quran, and while you are reading it tonight, and while you are going to be listening to the recitation of the Imam, of your Imam, then think about something. And whenever you come across an oath in the Quran, look at how and at what that oath is related to. What is linked with? What you will find is that most of the oath in the Quran are related to the time. Allah Azza wa Jalla, he said, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. By the morning, by the time, verily man is in loss. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَقِ. By the morning brightness and by the night when it darkened. By the night when it enveloped. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. If all of the oath in the Quran, or most of the oath in the Quran, is by the time, it's to show its importance. So we will stop here for this week, my dear brothers and my dear sisters. Thank you for listening. I hope you have learned something today, and I hope you are making this determination into making something worth of your life. I hope that you are going to start implementing some of these changes into your life. I hope that you're going to take the advantage of the month of Ramadan to implement these much needed and waited for changes. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم يا رب العالمين يا أكرم الأكرمين إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة مع الأبرار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار. اللهم يا رب العالمين يا أكرم الأكرمين أصلح لنا ذرياتنا. اللهم يا رب العالمين أصلح أحوالنا في الأمور كلها، ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا أقل من ذلك. اللهم يا رب العالمين اسقنا من يد نبينا شربة هنيئة مريئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم إنا نسألك الدرجات العلى من الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك الدرجات العلى من الجنة. اللهم إنا نسألك يا رب العالمين أن تعتق رقابنا في هذا الشهر أجمعين. اللهم اعتق رقابنا في هذا الشهر أجمعين، وهب المسيئين منا للمحسنين. اللهم إنا نسألك يا رب العالمين موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم، ونسألك اللهم الفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي. جزاكم الله خيرا for listening. جزاكم الله خيرا for your attention. And I inshallah ta'ala speak to you next week same time before Maghrib on Wednesday.
كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أفطر قال: ذهب الظمأ وابتلت fast. The thirst has gone and the veins have become moist and the reward has become established, insha'Allah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته.
O Allah, Lord of this perfect call and everlasting prayer, grant Muhammad, peace be upon him, the wasila and the greatness, and raise him to that praised position which you have promised him.
The IFTAR show is brought to you by Mercy to Humanity. Feed a family this Ramadan for only £30 for the month. That's right, that's only £1 per day. Donate now. www.mercytohumanity.org.uk